oats, run all over, skip and dance, jump and prance, go down through the orchard and stroll in the woods. The world is a wonderful place when you are young. I can see that, replied Wilbur. He gave a jump in the air, twirled, ran a few steps, stopped, looked all around, sniffed the smells of afternoon, and then set off walking down through the orchard, pacing in the shade of an apple tree. He put his strong snout into the ground and began pushing, digging, and rooting. He felt very happy. He had plowed up quite a piece of ground before anyone noticed him. Mrs. Zuckerman was the first to see him. She saw him from the kitchen window, and she immediately shouted for the man. "Homer!" she cried. "Pigs out, Lobby! Pigs out!" "Homer, Lovey picks out. He's down there under the apple tree. Now the trouble starts," thought Wilbur. "Now I will catch it." The goose heard the racket, and she too started hollering. "Run, run, run, downhill, make for the woods, the woods!" she shouted to Wilbur. "They will never, never, never catch you in the woods." The Cocker Spaniel heard the commotion, and he ran out from the barn to join the chase. Mr. Zuckerman heard, and he came out to the machine shed where he was mending a tool. Lovey, the haired man, heard a noise and came up from asparagus patch where he was pulling weeds. Everybody walked toward Wilbur, and Wilbur didn't know what to do. The woods seemed a long way off, and anyway he had never been down there in the woods, and wasn't sure he would like it. "Get around behind him, Lovey," said Mr. Zuckerman, "and drive him toward the barn. And take it easy, don't rush him. I will go and get a bucket of slops." The news of Wilbur's escape spread rapidly among the animals on the place. Whenever any creature broke loose on Zuckerman's farm, the event was of a great interest to the others. The goose shouted to the nearest cow that Wilbur was free, and soon all the cows knew. Then once one of the cows told one of the sheep, and soon all the sheep knew. The lambs learned about it from their mothers. The horses in their stalls in the barn pricked up their ears when they heard the goose howling, and soon the horses had caught on to what was happening. Wilbur thought, they said, every animal stilled and lifted had became excited to know what was. His friends had got free and was no longer penned up or tied fast. Wilbur didn't know what to do or which way to run. It seemed as though everybody was after him. "If this is what it's like to be free," he thought, "I believe I'd rather be penned up in my own yard." The Cocker Spaniel was sneaking up on him from one side. Lovey, the hard man, was sneaking up on him from the other side. Mr. Zuckerman stood ready to hold him up if he started for the garden. And now Mr. Zuckerman was coming down toward him carrying a pail. "This is really awful," thought Wilbur. Why doesn't Fern come? he began to cry. The goose took command and began to drive orders. Don't just stand there, Wilbur. Dodge about, dodge about, cried the goose. Skip around, run toward me, slip it and out, in and out, in and out. Make for the ooze, twist and turn. The cocker spanner sprang for Wilbur's hind leg. Wilbur jumped and ran. Lovey reached out and grabbed Mrs. Gilcomar, screamed at Lovey. The goose cheered for Wilbur. Wilbur dodged between Lovey's legs. Lovey missed Wilbur and grabbed the spanner instead. Now done, not done, cried the goose. Try it again. Run downhill, scoffed the cows. Run toward me, yelled the garter. Run uphill, cried the sheep. Turn and twist, honked the goose. Jump and dance, said the rooster. Look out for Lovey, called the cows. Look out for Jucamon, yelled the garter. Watch out for the dog, cried the sheep. Listen to me, he screamed the goose. Poor Wilbur was dazed and frightened by this hullabaloo. He didn't like being the center of all this fuss. He tried to follow the insane and his friends were giving him, but he couldn't run downhill and uphill at the same time. And he couldn't turn and twist when he was jumping and dancing, and he was crying so hard he could barely see anything that was happening. After all, Wilbur was a very young pig, not much more than a baby. Really, he wished Fawn were there to take him in her arms and comfort him. When he looked up and saw Mr. Jerkman standing quite close to him, holding a pail of warm slops, he felt relieved. He lifted his nose and sniffed. The smell was delicious: warm milk, potato skins, wheat millets, Kellogg's cornflakes, and a paw pullover left from the Jerkman's breakfast. Come, pig, said Mr. Jerkman, tapping the pail. Come, pig. Wilbur took a step toward the pail. No, said the goose. It's the old pail trick, Wilbur. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. He's trying to lure you back into cavity and he's appealing to your stomach. Wilbur didn't care. The food smelled appeasing. He took another step toward the pail. Pig, said Mr. Jerkman in a kind of voice, and began walking slowly toward the barnyard, looking all about him intently, as if he didn't know that a little white pig was following along behind him. You will be sorry, called the goose. Wilbur didn't care. He kept walking toward the pail of slops. You will miss your freedom, honked the goose. An hour of freedom is worth a batter of slops. Wilbur didn't care. When Mr. Jerkman reached the pig, he climbed over the fence and poured the slops into the trough. Then he pulled the loose board away from the fence, so that there was a wide hole for Wilbur to walk through. Reconsider, cried the goose. Wilbur paid no attention. He stepped through the fence into his yard. He walked to the trough and took a long drink of slops, sucking in the milk hungrily and chewing the Papa, it was good to be home again. While Wilbur ate, Lobby fetched a hammer and some 8-penny nail and nailed the board in place. Then he and Mr. Jerkman landed Leslie on the fence, and Mr. Jerkman scratched Wilbur's back with a stick. He's quite a pig, said Lobby. Yes, he will make a good pig, said Mr. Jerkman. Wilbur heard the words of praise. He felt the warm milk inside his stomach. He felt the pleasant rubbing on the stick along his itchy back. He felt peaceful and happy and sleepy. This had been a tiring afternoon. It was still only about 4 o'clock, but Wilbur was ready for bed. I'm really too young to go out into the water alone, he thought as he lay down.